Oh man.
Hey, hey,
How we doing, sir? How we doing?
hey, hey, hey,
Man,
hey.
we
What's going on,
made
my
it.
brother? What's going
We
on?
made it. We made it. Yes,
We
sir. We
made
made
it.
it.
We
We
made it.
made it.
We made it. We made it. We made it.
Look what I got on. Look what I got on.
I see you. Your vintage thing. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's see. See, I got it.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
Bessie
talking about.
Stringfield. Give everybody
Yes,
some insight.
sir. Yes, sir, man. Listen, we did our homework. We did our homework for this one, folks. I'm telling you, we had to make sure we got it right. We had to make sure that we was
Yes.
on the money because hey, we
Yes.
don't want we want to represent for the culture, man. We want people to know what's going on.
For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
How you
glad to
doing?
be here tonight, bro. I'm glad
Me
to be
too,
here.
man. Hey, and by the way, congratulations.
Thank you. What's that for? Oh, the award. Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, I don't get them often. So
I
I'm like,
know,
okay.
man. I know.
Yes, man. It was an honor, man. I'm like, when I got the call, I'm like, huh? I said, okay. I'll be
Yeah.
there.
That's good stuff, man. Get your
Yes,
roses
sir.
while you can, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
what it's all about. That's
They
how we
some
do
great
things.
ladies too. They some great ladies.
Yes. And which organization was that again?
That's RN Divas Riding Club here in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Shout
It's
out.
a whole organization of nurses.
Well, shout out to them. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
man.
Yes, sir, man.
There's one thing that I definitely want to make sure that I cover before we even get started, man, because this month right here is a month for the gentlemen's, a month for us to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And November is awareness of men's health and social issues such as prostate cancer, mental health, domestic violence, and those related to military services.
Yes, sir.
Men are often faced with pressures to suffer in silence. The goal is to improve men's lives, your husband, significant other, son, father, brother, uncles, nephews, etc. By raising awareness and supporting them. You can show your support during the month of November by growing your beards or mustache, hosting or participating in events, getting necessary screenings, and spreading awareness. So I'm letting my beard do its thing.
This is about as much. It grew over in 2020 and everything because I was just like, I'm gonna let. I ain't cut nothing. I was happy it was growing.
I know, man. I know. Me too, man. But look, sir.
Yes, sir.
Enough of us beating our gums tonight.
Yes, sir.
We have a gentleman out of Mansfield, Ohio.
Yes.
He goes by the name of Rufus Smith Jr. He's a second generation writer, enthusiast, historian, restorer, just an all-around guy, man. He's in some he have different associations that he's a member of, and he's also one of our brothers, fraternity brothers.
Yes, he is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
and man, so without further ado,
let's bring him on.
Let's bring him on. How you doing tonight, sir?
There he is.
Hey. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, good evening, my brother. Good evening.
Sir.
Good
Yes,
to see you,
sir.
brother.
Mr.
Good to see
Rufus
you.
Smith Jr. himself.
I'm like, y'all both got the vintage hats on and everything, man.
Right.
Vintage Harley Davidson racing shirt on. I'm like, okay, all right. I got up my game.
Hey, what you got on though? I mean, you got on a part of history too.
Bessie Stringfield. I had to represent the Bessie Stringfield.
That's good. That's good representation.
Right? Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is. Shout out to them as well.
Yes.
Hat off to you. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So, sir, you've heard us beat our gums already, man. And what we want to do is we want to get people up to speed. If you don't mind, introduce yourself to our audience tonight, please, sir.
Sure. My name is Rufus Smith Jr., born in Mansfield, Ohio, 1964. Currently live in Columbus, Ohio, actually a suburb of Columbus called Westerville. Married with one daughter.
Okay.
That's my introduction. Pretty simple, pretty straight to the point.
Okay. But you also have some organization that you are affiliated with.
Yes, sir.
And please, I would be remorse if I did not address them, because I always like to give people their props, give their organization their props, and if it's something that you
Yes.
are a member of and you feel good about, you definitely speak highly of them, sir.
Certainly, as it pertains to motorcycling, I'm a member of the Zulu's Motorcycle Club, founded in 1969 in Akron, Ohio, actually serving now as the national vice president of the motorcycle club. We're an all-black, all-male club. We were founded in 1969. Several of our founders actually took a trip to South Africa, met with the Zulu tribe, asked their permission to form a motorcycle club and they were okay with that. But the one thing they said, they have to remain all black and they have to be all male. And so we were founded under those guidelines.
That's your history, man.
And we still have maintained being all black and all male at will.
Okay. That's outstanding. See that?
Yeah. See what happens when you ask questions, man. You get some
right
history
question
by asking a question, bro.
You asked the right question. Yes, sir, indeed. Hey, sir, that is outstanding. Now, you also agree, am I correct?
Correct. Also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, pledged in 1983 at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, the Epsilon Lambda chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, and also a 32nd degree Mason.
All right.
Yes, sir.
That's a good resume right there, my brother.
I'm trying to tell you, man. My hat off to you.
Yeah, for
sir,
real.
I know you with those organizations that you just named. I know you are active in your community, because that is what we do, and that is what we are all about, giving to our community. So, again, I tip my hat to you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, bro.
For that. So, folks, we try to get people on the podcast that brings a lot of knowledge, a lot of history, the unsung rider that we don't hear or see on social media all the time. Everybody's not on social media. Everybody don't want to put it out there. Their ride, their journey, what they do, what they love is theirs. So, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to incorporate here is finding that unsung rider and sharing their journeys and experience with you, our audience. Yes, sir.
And historians need to be heard, because there's a lot of us that ride and we enjoy it, but we don't know the history of it.
Right.
We don't know. Even the information about your motorcycle organization. I mean, to go to Africa and get permission from, you talking about getting permission from a dominant.
Yes, the Zulu tribe, and if anyone knows their history, they know that the Zulu tribe fought for centuries against British rule, right? So, as you can understand, if they're fighting over British rule, the first thing they're going to say is that you're going to be all black.
Yes.
As a motorcycle. And then you're going to be all male. The Zulu warriors are all male. So, with that history, in 1969, for me, there was really it wasn't hard for me to decide what club I wanted to be a part of once I found out about the Zulu Motorcycle Club and the history and the origin. Because nowhere else can you see that history of African Americans, but South Africa, but Zulu. So,
that's awesome, man. That's awesome all by itself, right there, man. That's awesome all by
I
itself.
was trying to tell you, man. I don't even know what to say now. Look. I'm over here sweating, man. I'm like, ooh, is there gonna be a quiz at the end of this one?
Hey, look,
could be.
Look,
no clip notes. There are no clip notes available.
Hey, look, Mrs. Smith said no clip notes,
no clip notes,
no electronic devices.
No electronic devices, right.
Oh,
no Google.
Man.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to tell you, we're gonna enjoy. We're gonna have a good time tonight, folks.
Yes.
We are with Mr. Rufus Smith Jr. out of Ohio. A great guy, all around great guy, great gentleman, a great father, a husband, son, and historian. So, sir, we're gonna dive right into this episode 9 of Riding with KSolo, the podcast with Logic.
Yes, sir.
And the topic that we had to try to figure out how we wanted to kind of narrate this, how we kind of want to present this, because I've been following you on social media, and like I say, I seen what you do, and I love your passion for it, and I just wish everybody that rides this particular brand of motorcycles, everybody that's in the culture, that's looking for that history, because you'll get people come on, they'll pick up the history from when they join. and that's it, and not dive back into it. And what you bring to the table with your passion and what you do is part of that history, part of that legacy, part of that tradition. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is. It is. You know, we've talked, and you know, it's just a it's been a part of my life, all of my life. So to look a little bit of background and maybe get a little ahead of myself, but so my father started riding Harley Davidsons in World War II. He was assigned as an MP overseas in Europe, and was assigned, as it was segregated, to the Black Barracks. So one of his Caucasian friends, who was an MP as well, was riding a Harley Davidson, 19, I think it was a 41 or 42 WLA, 45 cubic inch Harley Davidson. So that's what my father, you know, asked him to teach him how to ride, and he did that. So my father was one of 4 or 5 black MPs who could ride and knew how to ride Harley Davidson motorcycles. So that's where he learned how to ride Harley Davidson motorcycles.
All right. World War II.
World War II veteran, yes.
But see, that's part of that legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
that's
sir.
when I preach that, I'm like, what is going to be your legacy? What are you going to leave behind for your children, your family, your loved ones, anybody that's, you know, hey, my father did this, my uncle did this, my brother did this. They can hold that something tangible to sit there and say, this is what he did or she did.
Right.
Yes, sir. So the slide that we have up here now, and I know we're going to be kind of out of order, but that's okay because we have it in here. Now, this is actually your father up in the upper right picture. Am I correct?
Correct. With the red and white motorcycle. Yes.
Yes. What is that, and does it have a name?
Sure. That motorcycle, I don't believe my father named that motorcycle, but that is a 1956 Hydroglide FLH, which was at that time was the strongest, largest American-made motorcycle period in the world. 1200 cc, 74 cubic inches, weighed around 700 pounds at that time, and that's what he rode. He rode that motorcycle, bought it new, and rode that until 1965, when he traded that motorcycle and bought one of my motorcycles behind me, a 1966 Harley Davidson.
Oh, okay. So his transition is from the military, then to coming back to Ohio, and then you come along and then passing that tradition down or that passion down to you.
Yeah, well, actually, he was from Wetumpka, Alabama. So he went from the military to Alabama.
Okay.
Came up to Ohio to pour concrete at the General Motors facility in Mansfield, Ohio. And from there, he started his own business after pouring concrete for GM, and was buying motorcycles regularly. He had a motorcycle when he came out of the military, but he kept that one for a while. Then he moved to Ohio, and then he started pouring concrete. Was actively working, every day. Decided to start his own business and pouring concrete. Started his own company, and thereafter started buying Harley Davidsons every few years.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, you know what? I want to make sure we get this off the because we normally hit this question at the end and be like, oh, we forgot about it. But Mr. Smith, if you could, even though I have the list, I know KSolo has the list. Could you introduce everyone to your motorcycles?
Yes, sir. I don't know if the camera can show the motorcycles, but and let me stand up a little bit. If that's all right. So motorcycle to the far left, the red and white one with the red and white seat is a 1964 Harley Davidson dual glide, 6-volt electrics, kickstart only. So the only way to get that motorcycle started is to kickstart it.
That means y'all gotta have some strong legs.
Strong legs.
Yes.
Yes. And that motorcycle is named Sarah after my mother.
Okay. Yeah. Is that the red and white or the red and black?
The red and white.
Okay, the red and white.
The red and white.
Sarah. Yeah, that's Sarah right there.
Right. That's
Yes.
Okay.
Another one beside it is the 1966 that my father bought brand new. He traded in 1956. He had that slide up earlier and bought this motorcycle with the tassels brand new. It is a 1966 Harley Davidson. And
Oh,
that
that's
is
Blanche.
named after, yes, that's named after my mother-in-law, Blanche.
That's
Okay.
blank.
Okay.
That's a shovel head, correct?
Yes, first year shovel head, correct.
First year shovel head.
shovel head.
First year
Shovel
shovel head.
How do you keep that thing running? I can't wait to get to the maintenance part of this show.
Right. Right.
And so that's the first year shovel head.
I was born in 68, man, and I know it's hard to keep me going.
Right, hard to keep me going. I'm born in 64. These motorcycles are in better fit than I am. But that motorcycle was the first year.
2 years before me, and KSolo was born 2 years after me.
Wow. And that motorcycle is a kickstart and electric start. So you can hit a button and that starts up electrically. Or if that doesn't work, you can kick it as well. And that's a kickstart as well.
Okay.
The black motorcycle is a 1967 Harley Davidson, a second year shovel head. Original paint, black and white. That motorcycle's name is Anime, named after Tina Turner.
That's on Anime.
Yes.
Yep, Anime.
Eat the cake.
Exactly.
Hey, that's not a kickstart, is it?
That also has electric start. It's electric and kick.
See
so
that? And look, when it kick back on you, that's Anime coming at you in the Cadillac.
Right. What's good about these bikes that have a kickstart still is that if the battery dies or the button doesn't work, you can always kick the bike and get it home. So that's always good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We might need never mind. I was gonna say you might need that to get in some of these newer bikes.
Yeah, once these newer bikes stop, they stop. That's it.
I know.
And last but not least is the blue bike in the corner, which is a 1972 FLH. And I call that one Lucille after B.B. King's guitar. And one of my close friends, her mother was named Lucille. So I named that motorcycle after both B.B. King's guitar and her.
And that's also a shovel head, correct?
That is correct. That is also a shovel head.
All right.
So 3 shovel heads, 1 pan head.
So y'all out there, y'all. I hope y'all taking notes. Y'all see what a shovel head and a pan head is, and a kickstart, 8 volt. What you said? 8 volt.
6 volt. Yeah, the 1964 is 6 volts.
6 volts.
6 volts.
Hey, look, you could even plug your phone to that thing, man.
Look at you can't jumpstart that.
No, you got to kickstart that. That's the only way that's going to kickstart.
You got to kickstart that thing, man.
Wow, I love it.
We're having a good time tonight. We've been looking forward to this show.
Great.
Just one thing that I need to do to check on my audio. If we're coming in clear, you can see us and hear us. Hey, just give us a quick thumbs up. Just give us a thumbs up. You don't have to say nothing. That way we know we're good and that we're broadcasting solid. Ooh, outstanding. We're having a good time.
Beautiful.
With Mr. Smith. And I know we talked, we do a pre-production and everything.
Right.
And we had a lot of conversation about the history of the motorcycle, how you got involved in it. What I wanted to do is just kind of bring that era of your motorcycles up, the 30s, the 1930s, the 1950s. Just kind of give us some of that history of who was involved. Mr. Johnson, Betsy, a couple of other people, and then even on the West Coast that we talked about, how tie that all in during that time frame of the 30s and then the evolution of this bike.
Right. So I would say that in the 30s, you really had the 2 main people that are talked about are William Johnson and Bessie Stringfield. Miss Stringfield, of course, as everyone knows, rode East Coast to West Coast, North to South by herself in a time period that wasn't really conducive for African Americans to ride motorcycles, male nor females, by themselves cross country. Right. So you're dealing with a female who's on a motorcycle by herself, a motorcycle that is only started by kickstarting it. So that gives you the wherewithal to know that Miss Stringfield was a very strong woman, very strong-willed, and wasn't going to be denied. And so you put that into the context of those roads back in the 1930s were less than desirable as well. So you didn't have the smooth asphalt roads that you have today. You had a lot of dirt roads, a lot of in and out of cities, towns, country, rolling hills. And then you put together the time frame of the time period we were in the 30s, 40s, And so you have a black woman riding cross country by herself. So she's got to actually map out where she's going to get gas because a lot of service stations may not serve her. Where she's going to eat because a lot of restaurants will not serve her. Right. So if you put all that together and you think about what she was able to accomplish, it was just unheard of and unheralded. Right. So much respect is due to her for what she did and what she was able to continue to do from the 1930s up until her death.
Yes.
I want to probably just pivot off the same question that KSolo asked, and I might say the same things, but it's like a two-part question. As a historian yourself, how do you see the role of Black Harley riders in the broader story of motorcycle culture in America? Now, with people like Bessie Stringfield, William Johnson, Ben Hardy, and Sugar Bear, who would, and your name, who would be on that list to continue to carry the history forward?
I have a few good friends right now who really love these old motorcycles. One is Henry Johnson, who lives in Florida. Close friend of mine. He rides old bikes. His father rode old Harley Davidson's, old Honda Gold Wings, and he's carried on that tradition in Florida that his father started, and riding these old motorcycles. Another friend of mine who's in Detroit is Randy Hayward. He's really well recognized across the country because Randy participates in all of the rides where you see the 1920s and 30s and 40s motorcycles, particularly the 20s and 30s. Randy is always very active in that field, that area. He loves the old bikes, the old pedal before you kick, bikes before you get it going. He's always
hold on. Did you just say pedal before you start?
Pedal, yeah. The 1910s, 1912s, 1918 singles, yeah, they were pedal. Then they get going quick enough, and then it takes off.
Right.
Those are true old school Harley Davidson motorcycles. Imagine that. Yeah. One cylinder instead of two cylinders. So Harley Davidson always had a gradual, I guess, growth, so to speak, as far as technology is concerned, right? Yeah. So Randy's one of those persons, and then we have another friend of ours in Milwaukee, Frederick Franklin. He has a 1975 that's sitting in the sitting in the Harley Davidson Museum right now as we speak. That's all lit up, has a bunch of lights on it, and then he also just purchased a knucklehead that he's been wanting to buy, or maybe early panhead rather, that he just purchased probably a month ago. That's I believe blue in color. So he's one of the guys that's come along after us who doesn't really have a family history of riding Harley Davidsons, but he's embraced the culture and the history of African Americans riding old motorcycles and embraced it quite well.
Now I have to ask you, sir. Are you a member of any type of organization that highlights that would be a go-to to try to get information? I know we had talked about the AMA, and we're going to address that a little bit more. But is there any organization out there, or would that be something that you maybe would consider leaving part of your legacy?
That's something I would maybe consider leaving for my legacy. I'm not really any member of any type of organization like that because I've been blessed enough through my father and uncle to kind of know their history of riding these motorcycles and what they went through and what they experienced from, the 1940s up until they both passed away. And I've been able to, as a young boy, learn that and be around people who I grew up with in Mansfield, whose fathers also had Harley Davidsons, and friends who had Harleys, and know that history, right? And that's been my biggest teacher, because I actually know the history because that's a part of my life. It's part of me growing up. So as opposed to someone, telling me the history, like some people have learned it, I actually grew up within the culture of riding these old bikes, which is why I still ride these old bikes today.
Yes.
And they're my preferred motorcycle to ride as opposed to the new motorcycles.
Right. And you do own a new Milwaukee 8, correct?
Yes, a 2021 Road Glide Limited. Yes.
Okay.
Folks,
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I was going to say something. I got to throw something funny in. So I was talking. I had a friend. And I ain't gonna mention his name. He said he asked me. I got a 2014 V Ride, and I got a 2017 Road Glide Ultra. But he said, "Man, you still got that V Ride?" I said, "Yeah, man." So, well, you need to get a new bike. I said, "Why would I get a new bike? They don't make these no more." And then I saw him again at an event, and he saw a vintage bike, and he said, "Man, I love them vintage bikes. They just keep them." And I looked at him like, "You was trying to tell me to get rid of my."
Right. Hold on to that B-Rod, because as you
Yes,
said,
sir.
they don't make them anymore. I mean, and yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely were on to that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, and I know we talked about it. How do we keep these motorcycles in our culture? How do we keep them in our family? Because over the years, these motorcycles have exchanged hands in ways that that's saddening. That's saddening.
Yes, that's a great point. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, I would say, is that we were riding these motorcycles. We as Black people were riding Harley Davidsons, 40s, 50s, 60s, especially 50s, 60s, 70s, early 80s. That's when I really saw and know of a boom of us buying these motorcycles, riding these motorcycles, because you had folks working at the factories, you had folks working at General Motors, you had folks working at Ford, folks working at Chrysler. So they're buying a car, they're buying a Harley. They're buying a car, they're buying an Indian. They're buying a car, they're buying a Vincent, right? So you have these folks who are buying these motorcycles and riding them because a lot of them are World War II veterans who came out of World War II, who saw these motorcycles on the bases and, wanted that sense of adventure, right? And so you're going to buy a motorcycle. You're going to buy that Harley Davidson, you're going to buy that Indian. But unfortunately, what happens, and I know this happening on so many occasions, too many occasions that I can't count any longer, is that the owner of these motorcycles passes away, right? And so you have his widow and you have his children. So who normally works on these motorcycles are the Caucasian mechanics at these dealerships. So they find out that Rufus Smith has passed away, that his Harley Davidson or his two Harley Davidsons are in his garage. No one's riding them. They're there. I'm going to approach the widow, knowing what they are, and throw money at her or throw money at the children and buy these motorcycles. That's what happens time and time again. That's how motorcycles go from our hands to their hands. And once they get their hands, it's next to impossible to get it back into our hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the value is there, and it gets to the point where, and another thing, we don't know the value of it.
Right. We don't know what we have. That's the biggest problem.
Right? We don't know.
Knock on wood, if I pass away, my wife knows what these, my wife would never sell these, but she knows she knows the value because she knows that. My daughter knows the value because she knows that at 16 years old. But, a lot of wives don't know the value of the motorcycle that's sitting in the garage, covered up in the corner, that's got a cover that's dusty. It's just, something, I want to get this out of my garage, right? Or the kids want to get this out of my garage. So give me $2,000 or give me $1,000 or give me $3,000. Well, that's a 20, 25, 30, 35, $40,000 motorcycle that you just gave away.
Right.
So I've had story after story of that happening, and it's very disheartening. So I've always been of the mindset, anytime that I find out that there's a motorcycle that is Black owned, if I can't buy it, I'm going to turn somebody else who looks like me, who hopefully has an interest in buying that motorcycle.
Now, I know we asked you this in the pre-production. How do you find these bikes? Is there a network? Like you said, you got your friend in Florida. I know you recently won a competition, and there was some other gentlemen there with bikes about that time frame during that era. Is it a circuit? I know Kodak always saying the chip the circuit, but is there some type of circuit for your bikes that you display them on, or that you attend, or that you?
Yeah, back when I was younger, I used to hit all the shows and win trophies and whatnot, but I kind of gotten away from that because it's just, you just do it so much, right? And you kind of get burned out. But I would say there's not really a circuit of us who know about these bikes. What usually happens again is that the Caucasians have contacts who they advertise on everything you can think of, Facebook, anything that's social media related. They'll advertise that I'm buying on motorcycles. And for every 15 or 20 KZs they get, right, KZ 900s or KC 1000s, they'll find a 72 Harley Davidson or a 68 Harley Davidson that was owned by one of us, right? So for every 20 bikes that they find of the Kawasaki's or Gold Wings, they'll find one Harley, but that one Harley is so monumental that of course they're going to buy it for next to nothing, and they're going to keep that bike, right? They're going to keep it. I mean, there are several dealerships I know of that have bikes on display that were owned originally. That the dealership found and given the family next to nothing, and now they have the bike in their dealership.
Right.
Yeah. I know of one particular in 1941 that's sitting in Indianapolis at a dealership that was owned by a black family, brand new, and they gave his son peanuts, and they bought the bike, and it's sitting in their dealership today.
Wow. And you know, a lot of our people in our culture, we ride motorcycles because we want to be in the club. We ride motorcycles because it's fun. We ride motorcycles because we see people like KSolo going all over the country and other people doing that. But how do black Harley riders find their identity, their real identity in the culture, when the culture sometimes is dominated by other groups? So that I don't roll for 10 years, I'm getting rid of the bike. How do we find our identity in this culture?
I would think that you would have that identity before you come into the culture, and then the culture just kind of embraces you. For a lot of people, you know, they've never ridden. A lot of people come in the culture never having ridden a motorcycle, right? And so they come in riding everything under the sun. And then they see everybody riding these Harleys with the stereo systems, the nice paint, the nice handlebars, the road glides, especially, have taken off, as you know, between men and women now riding road glides. But they come in and they see that and they go, I want to ride a Harley. You know, I want to get, you see people wearing Harley clothes. You don't see Honda Goldwing t-shirts. You don't see Kawasaki jeans. You see Harley.
And let me just go ahead and put this disclaimer out here right now, folks.
Right? You see the clothing, right? And then, as we've all seen, you see people who don't have a Harley Davidson wearing Harley clothing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
See, Harley Davidson make more money on their clothing than they do on their motorcycles.
On the merch.
So that's been proven. That's been proven. That took off in the 90s, 2000s. That's when that started happening. Because before then, I had one Harley fixtures from the 80s that you wouldn't be caught wearing because it is so plain. But now Harley is a fashion statement, right? And so you have people with Harley boots, Harley t-shirts, Harley jeans, Harley belts. And so that's how you come in riding motorcycles. You sell this clothing. You're not riding a Harley, but then you started getting the clothing. Then the next logical progression is to get a Harley Davidson. And I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
Well, Bubba, I like what Bubba 1% said. He said, and Harley Davidson Ford trucks.
And Harley Davidson Ford truck. What's going on, Bubba? How you doing, man? Hey, I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah,
folks.
yes.
We're not going to get too heavy with this, but this is a lot of history that we're putting down that we want to dig into, because we want to keep this show open. We want this show not just be the premiere, but we want it also to be educational.
Absolutely.
We want you to come to the channel. We want you to learn something, take something away from it. Something, and even if you may have heard it before, just to hear it again, you know what I'm saying? That's what we're looking to do here.
Yeah. I mean, I just love history. I mean, I know how old I am, but I know I can go places and sit and listen to someone just tell the history of something that not only that I can digest, but now I can, it's gonna sound kind of bad, but I can regurgitate to my children. I can tell my sons, I can tell my daughters, you know, and with this culture now, I'm riding. My daughter wants to ride. My son wants to, okay, Dad, you gonna give me this bike? I said, well, when I finish riding.
Right.
You're done right now, Doc.
Right. And that day is coming. That day's coming like it's coming to all of us, right?
Yes.
I can remember 20 years ago when I was kickstarting any of these motorcycles, it was easy. It was easy to kick them, right? But now as I'm, I approach 60, it's hard to get them started. It's just harder physically to get them started. Yeah. And so that time is coming. And I used to see my father, who rode up until he passed away at 77. He would ride, but I could see as he was getting older, getting tired and more tired and more tired, and holding the bikes up because they're heavy. I look at my Road Glide outside, and it's 930 pounds. Road Glide Limited, right? 2021, 930. And these bikes in here are respectively 900, and then the blue bike is 1,100 pounds. But that's 1,100 pounds of old steel, old iron, old steel, old iron. So it's a different weight than that Road Glide. The Road Glide is pretty nimble. I can push it around, move it around easily. These bikes, it's not as easy to move these around. These are a lot. These are steel and iron. They're made differently, and so they're much heavier, much different weight.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, folks. I'm sorry I have to do this, but we're gonna have to jump off of the Facebook, and we're going over to YouTube. So, hey, grab you a cup of Joe or whatever you're drinking, and we'll be right back. All right. Everybody here? Is everybody here?
I'm here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm here.
Oh man, I hate to do that, but folks, we have to do it. We have to do it.
Yeah, we have to do it.
There, and this here has an archive, so we have to do it.
We have a question, and my question. I have a question, but I see Tina Lightfoot's question. And my question is going to be just like that. So we can go ahead and read her question.
Which one?
Tina, you just had it up there.
Okay.
So do you take your vintage bike to a Harley dealership to get to work on it, or do you do it yourself, or have to find a specialized person, I guess, for those year models?
That is a great question. Great question. So
we already ready for it.
Yeah, right. Now that question, that picture with that stator, that looks like my stator from my 2012 Ultra Limited that I had that burned up on a trip coming back from Kentucky. I think I was in Kentucky, and the stator was, the stator goes bad. Your voltage either goes all the way over or it stays at 12. It doesn't go to 14. So that you know that your stator's going bad. So I knew if I turn my bike off, if I stop moving, like getting gas, turn it off, it would never start again. Right. So I ran that bike all the way from Louisville, Kentucky to Columbus, Ohio, sitting on it, getting gasoline at the gas station, because I knew if I stopped and turned it off, that was it. I actually got back, but that stator was done. It was done. But to answer Tina's question, I have a mechanic. When I can't handle the work on these bikes, I have someone who I trust, who's worked on these bikes for 40 years. He's now 72 years old. And so him and I will get together and keep these bikes going. But yeah, only thing I go into a dealership for is, I can't even say oil anymore, because they don't even carry the old oil anymore for these bikes. They used to carry the spark plugs for these motorcycles, but if you go into today and ask for a spark plug for these motorcycles, the parts counter will look at you like you're speaking Japanese.
Man, so, hey, look, they don't even have a nomenclature, a SKU, or anything.
No, they don't work. I think, from what I understand, they don't work on any bikes older than 2010 now at dealerships.
Wow,
so they're not mechanics at dealerships; they're technicians, and there's a big difference. Yes. If anyone knows the difference, there's a big difference.
Dive into it. I'm sorry. Dive into it. I don't care if this is 2 hours long. Dive into it, please. Just explain.
Yeah, technicians put parts on bikes. That's what they do. That's what Harley is. That's what Harley Davidson has become. The dealerships they put parts on bikes. You buy clothes, you buy hats, you da. But there are very few mechanics left in traditional and Harley Davidson dealerships. Very few.
Wow.
That's just a state of
Now to add to that, your comment, there's a and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't have permission to, but there's a young guy that has his own YouTube channel and everything, and he repairs bikes and he does an auction. But I'm looking at the fact that he taught himself how to, and it's one of my questions I was going to ask you, how to restore bikes. Like he'll buy them dinged up, or anything like that. And he restores the bikes. He's a brother. How important is that? Like, I don't know, because I don't know him. I met him once. How important is that to let the younger generation to understand, you're doing this to sell it, to make a dollar, but to have that historical knowledge of now I can if I can restore a 2018, 17, 16, 20 to sell it, that skill set should be able to be passed down. Like yourself, how you restore these vintage bikes.
Yep. The new bikes are complicated because of everything that goes into them with the electronics, which makes them really complicated. But these old bikes are not complicated, and it's really just you can just figure out because you have a battery, you have a regulator, regulates electricity, and you can just figure out how to do about it, how to go about it, and figure out what's wrong. So they're not difficult; they're tedious, but it's not difficult with these old bikes. You just have to have the patience to know what you're doing and to take your time and watching someone who knows what they're doing. Someone older. That's the problem today because we have so many folks who worked on these bikes who are now in their 70s and 60s. They're passing on. So for me, myself, which I know how to do most of the stuff to keep these going, but behind me, there aren't many people to keep these bikes going. So as we get older and pass on, and we still have these bikes left, there are going to be very few people who can work on these motorcycles.
Very few people that can work on them.
And you can't let these sit. These bikes, letting these bikes sit does more harm than good. Like letting an old car sit, right? You end up spending more money from it sitting than you do if you were driving it every day or driving it every weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
And KSolo, he said something that's very interesting. He says the newer bikes are a little bit more difficult to work on, and just like the cars and everything. And I think the manufacturers make it that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about how Harley started,
without a doubt,
yes,
without a doubt, it gets to the point where it becomes so technical where you got to plug a machine in, and it's all electronics. You unplug it, you plug a new one in, and then you roll with it.
That's a technician, right? That's not a mechanic. That's truly a technician.
Not a mechanic. Right.
Yeah. And so I mean, you look at the stereo systems in bikes, right? 10 years ago, you could take your speakers out, put new speakers in, and keep moving. Now you've got an enclosure on these road glides. You got an enclosure on the street glide. You got to take the enclosure off. They got so many different ways to stop you from doing that you have to bring it back to. You have to have really somebody who knows what they're doing to defeat what they put into it to defeat you, right? Yeah. Harley's made it nearly impossible for you to work on the new motorcycles in your home.
Now I have a question for you. Right, I have a question for you. We're talking about maintenance, upkeeps, restoration. Where do you get the parts from? Where do you find these classic pieces to replace? Do you have to manufacture them? Do you have somebody who could have a ladle, who can reproduce these, who know the dimensions of them? How can you keep these bikes rolling if they're not making the parts anymore?
Yep. So the best place that I've always found to get parts are swap meets, which are held all over the United States, usually during the summer months from, I'd say, primarily April through October. And there are, Denton, North Carolina just had one a couple of weeks ago. Wauseon, Ohio, which is north of me, had one back in the summer. There's one in Pennsylvania called Olney. That's held. There's one in Davenport. So the swap meets is where you see the old motorcycles and the old parts for the old motorcycles that are truly Harley Davidson parts, which is key. There are a lot of aftermarket companies that make aftermarket parts, but when you deal with aftermarket parts, you're trying to put an aftermarket part on an original machine, and the fitment may not be correct. So you may have to tweak it, bend it, stretch it, shave off a couple inches to make it fit. Whereas if you're going to a swap meet, you can find the part that bolts right up, and you can just put the part right to the motorcycle. But the swap meet is where you find them. Then, if need be, you can look at eBay. But eBay is eBay. I mean, they have the parts, but they're so expensive. It's just so expensive, right? So I stay away from eBay. I hit swap meets, and luckily, I'm a kind of a hoarder. You really can't. You can see my garage, and I've got parts all over the place.
Put that on the big screen.
It's a mess. And I've got a shed out back that has stuff, and I've got my basement has others. My basement shelves have other parts. So I'm able to, if I have a part that goes bad, I usually can go somewhere and find what I need here in the garage or the basement or the shed or somewhere.
Right. Yeah, man, folks, we're learning a lot. We're having a great time with Mr. Rufus Smith Jr. Out of Mansfield, Ohio. And I'm telling you, folks, if you're not leaving this episode with some knowledge, something new, then I don't know. You must got your volume turned down.
Seen people say they learned a lot, right? Already. I've already seen people type that in there. And look, there's for my V-Ride, because they don't make a lot of parts, hardly don't make a lot of parts for it. Now they can work on it still, but there's one place that I know, I think it's in Minnesota. That's all they work on. And I called them up and said, hey, they said, well, if you want to work on your second gear, you're going to have to come up here, or you're going to have to buy it and then find somebody to put it on. Because we got a second gear just for that bike that Harley doesn't have. I was like, oh, shoot. I said, I have to keep them in my speed dial.
Hey, Logic, your mic is breaking up. Thank you, C. Yeah, thank you, C. Ruger. I appreciate that. Yeah, just kind of tweak that a little bit for me.
Okay, let me see.
Hey, folks, once again, we want to appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Our featured guest for tonight is Mr. Rufus Smith out of Mansfield, Ohio, and member of the Zulu MC Nation up there. Probably one of the oldest MCs up there. And Mr. Rufus has a passion and enthusiasm for classic and historic Harley Davidson motorcycles. We're talking from the 30s to the 50s era. And if you know someone that's interested, you need to reach out to him. If you want to get somebody to come to one of your events with knowledge, information in that area, reach out to him. Get him on your list. Get this history and knowledge out there, folks, because we do not want to lose it. We do not want to lose it. And I say we do not want to lose it because it's moments like this right here that we leave legacies behind. What Mr. Smith is doing is he has created a legacy for his daughter. So from his father to him and now to his daughter. And you were just telling me the other day, your daughter can kickstart. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, I had her out actually Sunday afternoon on the driveway, kicking my pan head just to get her used to kicking it, because she's strong enough to do that. And once she has the kicking piece down, then I'm going to actually turn the ignition on and let her kick it and get it started. So that way she'll know how to get that motorcycle started by kicking it. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. That's important to me, because I want to make sure that I leave her with as much knowledge as I can on how to not only how to ride these motorcycles, but how to get them started.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because once they lose that ability to get them started, they lose interest in them, paperweight. Next thing you know, they're out the door, they're gone, they're out of the garage. And folks, I can't stress how much I preach this. It's not about what you're doing right now. It's not about the memories that you're making. It's that legacy that you're going to leave behind. Even if you're leaving it for your club brothers, even if you're leaving it for your wife, your husband, your daughter, your granddaughter, your grandson, your son, whoever you're leaving behind, exist on this planet. On this planet and inspire others to want to do it, because not only what you do will inspire them, but it's going to inspire your grandchildren too, and so on, your family, and keep this culture going. That's how we keep this culture going, folks. It's what Mr. Smith is doing right now with his daughter, and what a lot of you all out there doing, because we're actually going to have an episode coming up. Logic.
Yes, sir. We got an episode coming up with do we want to tell them now? We want to.
Yeah, we're gonna tell them.
We got an episode coming up with father and son. Father and son. You have the father that's been riding for a long time, and then his son got old enough. His son started riding. Then I joined, I believe, the same organization.
Same
almost like LeBron James and his son. You know what I'm saying? Playing in the same game.
They're gonna get me for that one. Hey, man,
Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, I know we had talked about this. What role does in your life, or you can say even in the general culture of Black people riding motorcycles, what role does faith play in your connection to the Black biker community?
For me personally, it comes. We've come this far by faith, right? And so that's one thing that's one song that has always struck me to my core, because in everything that I've done in my life, I've come this far by faith.
Right.
You know, going to school, graduating from college, that was by faith. Because my father had a sixth grade education, went to World War II, was a veteran, started his own company, and, you know, and had learned to read and write when he was in the military. And so, you know, and he still wasn't that great of a reader nor a writer, even when he had his own company. So, you know, just for me to go to college and to be able to go to college and be successful after that, that was faith for me. So we've come this far by faith. Okay. And as I learned to ride these motorcycles at an early age, being on the back of my father, you know, going to see Mr. Johnson in New York at his dealership, but we can talk about that later as well.
Yes,
but you know, going to see him and hearing his story and talking to him and talking to my father, my uncle and their friends, and we're going to these field meets every summer. And you know, the field meets were very segregated. You'd have white folks there, but they wouldn't be there but for the races, right? That's what they were there for. They weren't there really for the camaraderie, so to speak, that we all enjoyed going to these field meets as children in the 70s. So, and you know, they were by faith, you know, by being there. So we had a gathering of people who looked like myself and kids who looked like myself, and we're all running around looking at all these different motorcycles. You had Harleys, you had Indians, you had Vincents, you had Goldwing wasn't really out then, but you had the Hondas. So you saw these motorcycles, you're just like, wow, look at all these bikes, look at all these people cooking, having a good time. And then, you know, racing and having fun. So and this is all on, for me, it was just all on faith. And as you ride these motorcycles, even today, as I go cross country, I was in Maine a couple of years ago, and you're going up through areas that you haven't been in, and it's by faith, right? Because without that, you don't know how it's going to turn out. So you just thank God it's as good as it is, and you keep God first and foremost in everything that I do, especially riding these motorcycles, as dangerous as it is today, riding bikes, especially in the cities.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So faith is very important to me. Very important.
We had a couple of questions coming in, and I want to kind of get these questions addressed. The first one come from Retro Philosophy Show. Hey, shout out to my guy Retro. I really enjoyed your show the other night, man. And I mean, I was with you the whole time. I didn't want to comment. I didn't want to distract you when my name came across there, but hey, I'm with you on that, man. That was a great show that you had. Retro question was, does Mr. Smith ride any of those classic bikes long distance still? And we talked about that. We're gonna get people. We asked these questions. We asked all these questions, but I'm glad you are, because we know you are engaged with the show, and we love it. Don't we, Logic?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So these bikes don't get out long distance anymore because they just don't. You know, if I'm out on the interstate, I can't run 75 or 85 continuously for hours upon a time. I can run 75, 85 for about 5 miles comfortably before the vibration, you know, moves my feet off the boards. It shakes a lot. So these bikes aren't.
And they weigh so much. You know what I'm saying? They weigh
a lot, but they're just not built to run 75, 85. You know, comfortable for these are 50, 55, 60. And I can run 60, 65 all day long. So I'll run to Cleveland, or I'll run to Cincinnati on back roads. So I'll take them that way. But as far as interstate moving, that's one of the reasons I had that road glide. You know, especially being in a club, I'm going to run 80, 85, 90 with that road glide and not miss a beat. With these, they can get up that fast, but it's not something that I want to do. I'll take them out once a year and run them around the interstate that runs around Columbus, and I'll run them 85, 90 just to get them up there and make sure they can still do it, but then I'll bring them home. And so they paid their dues, so to speak, right? They're 60 years old. They paid their dues. They paid their dues. And plus I'm riding on different tires. I'm not riding on modern tires. I'm riding on Goodyear Super Eagles that have their 50-year technology. So
and we talked about that. We talked about that.
We did.
And there are a couple of companies still out there like Shinko that makes tires for them, but for the look. Am I correct?
The look, right. The technology is current, but the look is retro. But my bikes, the look and the technology is what it is. It's 50-year technology. So, for instance, when you cross over a graded bridge that has grates in it for the ice and the stuff in the wintertime, your motorcycle doesn't follow those grooves. When I cross over a graded bridge with my old bikes, it follows every single groove in that bridge.
Wow.
So you've got to really know how to ride these old motorcycles with the old tires, or you end up sideways pretty quickly. So,
right.
Yeah,
right.
These old bikes you got to know what you're doing to ride old motorcycles. They're very unforgiving. New bikes are very forgiving.
They're unforgiving.
They're unforgiving.
Unforgiving.
So you can't ride with one hand on one of those bikes.
You can. Roger, now that you mentioned that, I'll give you just a tidbit of information. So you're riding your new modern bike. You have your hand on your throttle. You have your throttle open, correct? As soon as you let go of your throttle shuts back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? You let it go, it shuts back.
Right.
These bikes, you open the throttle, you let go of the throttle stays open. So it's what I call a poor man's cruise control. So you open the throttle at 40 miles an hour, you take your hand off the throttle, the bike's still running 40 miles an hour until you turn the throttle down yourself.
My 09 out there, she definitely has that disease. The day I took my hand off and she was still pulling. I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Right. So imagine these old bikes. That's just the way they were made up until 1973, when the Department of Transportation mandated a return throttle on that. So before that, you open the throttle, the bike goes, you take your hand off the throttle, it's still pulling at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
And so when people see me ride with one hand on the brake side and no hand on the throttle, they're like, how is he doing that? It's because the throttle is an open throttle. You open it and it stays open until you close it yourself. So you physically close it.
Okay. All right. I understand.
You take a Lightfoot question?
Lightfoot, yeah, I was going to take the next question, but I'll take Lightfoot. Tina Lightfoot asked another question, and she said, "Do you do the race across the states with the vintage bike once a year?" She said, "I think Wheels of Time and Maggie Valley, North Carolina started that. Just wanted to know if you got part of that."
Yep, this year I'm going to do it this year on my 64. My bikes are actually too new for that race because those bikes they were up until 63, I think, last year. So this year, my 64 would be included. So I'll do it with my 64 this year to answer your question. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get another question in.
Get that. Get Tone.
Yeah. Tone Tea time. He wanted to know, do you document the stories and history so that it could be passed along properly? Sort of like what we talked about, leaving your legacy.
Yes, I've kept a journal probably in the last, I'd say 15 years, that every time I sit down with someone from my father's era who rode these old bikes, and I sit down and talk to them, and I talk to them about these old bikes, and I always write everything down after I've spoken with them, because that's very important, because you learn the history of these old motorcycles as they pertain to us. Right. And that's very important, because it's the history that a lot of people don't know. You see these old bikes that white people have, and you're like, wow, that's a knucklehead or that's a panhead. But you don't know that, probably 2 times out of 10, someone black bought that bike brand new or had that bike, and they have it now. And I know that because I just know the culture, know how it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's because back in the day, if you worked at GM or Ford or any dealer or any factory, if you bought a car, a Cadillac, a Lincoln, you're going to buy a Harley Davidson, or you're going to buy a Vincent, you're going to buy an Indian. That's what they did. That's what all my father's friends did. All of them.
Okay.
They had a motorcycle.
Okay. All right.
And they transitioned the cultural to become legendary, the legendary and iconic motorcycle almost for our culture for a time, because when they came back from World War II and all of that, that's what they kind of transitioned to. And then during Vietnam, that's when we get that era of the chopper, of customization, different style handlebars, putting the lights on, the bells and the whistles and all that on it.
Right. I mean, you look at, just to give you an example of that, you look at Easy Rider, right? Big biker movie. Everybody loved it. The builders of those bikes were blacks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't talked about. Yeah. It just wasn't talked about. So you have these people who say blacks should be on Harleys, but I love Easy Rider. Well, you love Easy Rider, and the people who built those motorcycles are black men.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They
Yeah.
don't want to recognize. Now they're getting recognized finally, but it's taken 30 years for them to be recognized as the builders of those motorcycles.
Right.
So you have us
Right.
building those choppers. You have us having these dressed out bikes with the lights and the balls and all this stuff on it. So we have had the Harley Davidson culture,
Mhm.
right? Okay, Solo, Logic, you can remember that we're the ones who brought the modern bikes with the stereo systems, right?
Yes.
The stereo systems, the handlebars. Now you go to competitions, all you see are white boys at the competitions with stereo systems and the handlebars.
Mm.
9 times
You
out of 10,
that nowadays, man. You gotta have that, man. You gotta have that.
but it's our culture. It's what we're going to do. But once again, as it always happens, it's taken away, and now you see. I've seen more white guys in competition now than I see any brothers.
Right.
And that happens across
the
culture.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have some type of mentorship program that you're involved with? I know, like I say, the gentleman down in Florida, but is there anybody in your area, or do you do like a workshop, or get anybody in your community involved or engaged with it?
I wish I could, and I wish I would, because I just don't. I don't know if, I don't know if there's not an avenue, but I don't know if there's I want to know about these old bikes, because everybody likes everything new, right? They want to get on the latest, greatest Road Glide, CVO, Street Glide, ST, all those new bikes, right? And I'll sell anyone, the new bikes are nice and it gets you from point A to B at 80, 90 miles an hour, but they hold no value.
Right.
Brand new, these bikes were $1,400 across the board. $1,400, $1,500. Now they're worth, you can't even talk about how much they're worth now.
Right.
Because they are. So they increase in value. Whereas the new bikes, like my Road Glide, I paid $30,000 for that when I bought it new. That's a $20,000 bike now, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
And it's what, 4 years old, 3 years old?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a dime a dozen, right? And they're done because they make so many of them. Back when they're making these, they're making, 2,600, 33,000 a year. That's it.
Right.
Now they make them, they're just, they're like Pez candies.
Right. And that was the nostalgia behind that bike. They would only make so many. That was during the time that you would have to go into the dealership, order it, place the order. They may say, oh, well, it's 2 years out. It's a year out before you got that bike.
Yeah, that was the 80s and 90s. But when they were buying bikes, when people who look like us were buying these bikes, you go into a dealership, maybe they don't sell you one.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have several. My father, when he first bought one in Alabama, he had to have a white person buy it, and then he bought it off of him because they wouldn't sell it to him.
Wow.
Hey, folks.
So think of winning in line.
Everything that we're go ahead.
Think of putting your name on a list, right, to get a bike, as you did in the 80s and 90s when everybody wanted a Harley Davidson. But being black in the 50s and 60s, you go into a dealership, they're not going to sell you one. What are you going to do? Who are you going to sell?
Right.
I'm not going to sell you a motorcycle.
Right.
You can leave. Get out of my store.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, that particular brand did go through different owners, manufacturers, named AMF and all that good stuff. Yes, Jessam. But the thing is, folks, is we've been trying to capture this light, this essence, this vintage, this classicness, the nostalgia behind it. What got Mr. Smith involved with it, his passion for it, his legacy, his community, the beauty of it. And that's what ties and brings us all together.
Right.
That's what brings us all together.
And when we are able to pass down just part of a legacy, this part, because I'm pretty sure he's passing something else down to his daughter. But this part of his life is a big part of his life to pass down. If we could just tap into that, tap into those that have passed it down before him, and then be able to continue to go, even though people will try to hijack our culture will always be evolving, and it will always be making history if we become legendary in our own families, So it is great. It's awesome. But we got to get to that big question. I'm gonna let you do it, Solo.
Hey, Solo, before you get to that question, I was going to speak about Mr. Johnson for a minute, if I could.
That's the question.
Yeah. Oh. Man, listen, we got all the time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We got all the time. If hey, look, adjust the brim. Adjust the brim.
I'm adjusting my brim. I'm thinking of William Johnson right now, so I'm adjusting my brim.
I know, right? Hey, Mr. Johnson.
Let me ask the question.
Go ahead.
How do you meet Mr. William Johnson, the first black Harley Davidson shop owner?
Logic.
Long story. So that's when I was.
That was my question.
That was your question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So when I was 6 or 7 years old, we would go to field meets. Field meets, as you know, were a big gathering of motorcyclists. And you'd have games, a whole weekend of games. They had field meets in New Jersey, field meets out of Boston, field meets in New York. And every time we'd ride, my father, uncle, cousins, friends, we'd all ride on the back I rode on the back of this bike actually with my father to New York. But every time we went to New York, we stopped at Mr. Johnson's Harley Davidson dealership, which was in Somers, New York, which is probably an hour and 20 minutes from New York City. First black Harley Davidson dealer that's I think he started selling Harley Davidsons 1961 or 62. He would sell those bikes, and he sold in a shop that was probably twice the size of my garage. I can remember it vividly because he had bikes on top of bikes on top of bikes. And he's selling these bikes, and we're buying stuff from him, buying oil and whatever we needed to get back and forth to the field meet. And at that time, I can remember one year when I think it was 8 years old, we were going and we stopped in the shop to talk to him. And he said, hey, Harley Davidson has allowed another dealer 5 minutes away to open up a shop. And my dad was like, they did what? And he was telling the story, competition is fair. We want competition to be fair. So they allowed this dealer to open up a bigger, nicer, more corporate looking store 5 minutes away from Mr. Johnson's store. And the guise of that was to put Mr. Johnson out of business. Now, this is the same Harley Davidson company that allowed him to open a franchise in 62. So you have this person who's giving him competition, actually a lot of competition because he can move more motorcycles, and was pretty much trying to put Mr. Johnson out of business. The NAACP at the time took up a fight against Harley Davidson and told him it was unfair what they were doing to Mr. Johnson. They had a mediator. Long story short, both of those guys, Mr. Johnson and the owner of that dealership 5 minutes away, came to an agreement, and they were able to coexist in the same area of New York. But at first, the same company that had set Mr. Johnson up for success also set him up for failure by having a dealership 5 minutes away, larger, more bikes, can move more bikes, more everything. So, but he withstood all that and was still the same Mr. Johnson that I remember as a little boy until he passed away in the 90s.
Right. Wow, folks.
But he wore a hat. He wore a hat like this.
He wore a hat like this. Yes, he did.
All the time.
Yes, he
all the time.
And just so people know that this ain't no prop or something like that, I had this hat back in 2019 when Sharif and I, Paul, Arlen, Matt, Storm, who else? I hope I didn't miss anybody. We did the Route 1 top to bottom, and I wore this hat during that ride because it was I wanted to ride Route 1. I wanted to sit there and enjoy it all, take it in. And then Reef wore his classic hat too, so it was kind of one of those Indian Harley classic rides that we were shooting for. So I've had this hat for a while. It's not a prop. So
hey,
I just said that. Yeah.
KSolo, I've had this hat since 1972.
1972,
wow.
Man. That's
1930. I've got some in there from 1950 that my father had.
Right. Mr. Smith, you definitely need to open up a museum or something, man. Even if you find an organization that can say, hey, sir, we can give you this corner. We can give you this area of the shop if you set up your exhibit, air it to us or whatever they got to do. But your legacy what you've done, what you created needs to continue. It needs to be shared.
Yes.
It really does.
Yes. Because we don't have that.
Go ahead.
No. What I was gonna say, and that's what that question I asked earlier in the show about what other names could be added on the list that we probably don't know. A lot of people probably didn't know about who you were until that's what KSolo wants. How we open up people to wisdom and knowledge and history and culture. And, we need people like you to give us that, pour into us, to add to our knowledge and our history,
Right. Because so many people, Logic, don't know that we've been riding Harley Davidson as long as they have.
Right.
We've been riding bikes since the 30s, 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, but they don't know that. So when they see us, they see us on these motorcycles, they think, oh, how long you been riding that? Like they always ask me, where'd you get this motorcycle at? Well, my father had it brand new.
Right.
Then their whole face changed. The whole face changes. I'm like, I've been riding Harley Davidson longer than you have. And my father been riding longer than your father. So what's your next? So what's your next question?
Right.
And just wash your face. It's mind-boggling to see their face change when they see me riding these old motorcycles and they find out how long I've been riding them.
Right.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that, and it's
Right.
just, I mean, for us, it's not necessarily a hatred or anything like that. Our passion and what we want to get across, our passion is just as strong. Our enthusiasm is just as strong. Our love for the culture and for all of this is just as strong.
Yes.
I mean, it's no competition at all. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we have that love and passion for the machines. Not just that brand, but for the machines, for the culture and the love of riding. That's what I've always preached. We have that. We all share that love of riding, man. And we all should embrace that. Anybody on this podcast or tuning in, just know that this is what this thing about is for us all to share love and enjoy the passion for motorcycling. No matter what it is you ride. If you're in a club, independent, male, female, if you overseas, if you in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, wait, what was that one? Where was that one lady from overseas, Philippines? Logic.
Yes.
If you're from the Philippines, we don't care as long as you enjoy the love and passion of riding. Hey, Justin had a question right quick about the shop. Can you see that, Logic? Because it's all over the place.
Question on the shop. It says, were the bikes co-signed or did they make you purchase due to race? I think he was maybe referring to William Johnson, because that's when that popped up when he was speaking on that. Did his bikes get co-signed or?
Were they his? They were loaned. Harley Davidson had a program of loaning the motorcycle to someone, loaning it to Mr. Johnson. So that's why he only had. I can remember only seeing probably at the most 15 motorcycles in his shop for sale. 15 total. Whereas the dealership this dealership was 5 minutes away, maybe 6 minutes away from his dealership. He had a showroom of Harley Davidson motorcycles.
Wow.
Showroom. So, they set, even though they allowed him to open a dealership in 62, they allowed this other gentleman to have a dealership 5 minutes away from him. And if you have a dealership 5 minutes away from you, you kind of know you're being set up to fail.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So while Harley Davidson on one hand saying, look what we've done, on the other hand, look what we've done.
Look what we've done. Now, here's a question. If Harley did that to their own, was there any Indian? Because Indian was their biggest competitor.
Indian was out of business by 1963. They were out of business in 1951, 53. 1953 was the last year for Indian. Okay. So they were out of business. They weren't even on landscape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Hero. Shout out to my hero Benson. Sir, if you could just come in, pop into the studio for a quick second, give us a shout out, share a little bit of knowledge and history with us. We greatly appreciate that, man. Just pop in for a quick second.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm enjoying.
Hey, we got a question. We got a question right quick from Most
Go
Wanted
ahead.
on Twos. If riders come to Mansfield area, is it possible to see your bikes?
Yeah, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So yes, it's possible to see my bikes. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm in Columbus. Yeah, Columbus.
He's in
Yes.
Columbus, Ohio. He's in Columbus,
He's in
Ohio.
Columbus.
I'm born in Mansfield, but I'm in Columbus.
Right. And,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's on us. That's on us because we did go through the pre-production
That's
and
okay.
discuss that.
That's
I wish
okay.
we had caught that, sir, because like
That's
this
okay.
person right here, thank you, Most Wanted. This is awesome. We know you engaged. We know you want to see this, and we hope more people want to see this because looking at the numbers, we still got people on viewing this now, and we greatly appreciate you staying with us because trust me, we're sitting here right now, and listen, we have a pre-production that we do before our show, and we have questions galore.
I haven't asked half these questions. I haven't. I know, right? He's talking. I said, well, I ain't gonna talk. I ain't gonna ask that one. I ain't gonna ask that one.
I know.
But I do have one, and this will go tie into way back when you were asking about his affiliation. There's a long history of Black motorcycle clubs in our country. How have a lot of these clubs shaped the culture of Black Harley Davidson riders or just Black motorcycle riders? I know we're talking about Harley Davidson, but
I would say on a bigger scale, Black motorcycle riders, because there are clubs in the country that you have to have an American-made motorcycle to be a member of that club, right? And that's part of their bylaws, and that's fine. That's accepted. That's the way. That's just fine. That's the way it should be. But you have more clubs that you have to have a motorcycle to be in their club, right? A running motorcycle, and that's really the most important aspect of the culture.
Right.
You know, there's nothing to me more embarrassing than being in a motorcycle club without a motorcycle. Why are you in a motorcycle?
There it is.
This may change people. This may turn people the wrong way. But if you're in a motorcycle club and you have no motorcycle, you shouldn't be in the club.
I'm trying to.
That goes down a whole different road that we probably don't want to go down today.
That's gonna be fun. Hey, look, that's gonna be for another episode in time. Oh my goodness, sir! I have thoroughly enjoyed having you on tonight, man.
Yes.
But one thing I will say, brothers, one thing I've always, a good friend of my father told me this back when I was a young, probably 16 years old. He always told me to say, "We are not new to this, but we are true to this."
Right.
Yes.
And I heard that when I was a young man.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, I was 16 years old riding my 1981 lowrider at 16.
Yes.
16.
Okay. That's outstanding, sir. That's outstanding.
You got a question, Solo? You got a question?
I was trying to see if anybody was going to throw a question. If you got a question up there, throw a question up there.
Well, I mean, what would you give young riders this day? What advice, talking about how to carry on the culture, how to really get involved in motorcycling, what advice would you give them from your perspective?
You know, as with anything, motorcycling is what you make it, what you make of it. For me, it's been an avenue to really become one within myself. There's nowhere else I can go personally to give me peace of mind but on my motorcycle, be it riding one of these old ones or riding even my modern motorcycle. Nothing for me is better than getting out on the open road and covering miles and meeting people and, you know, shaking people's hands from different walks of life, different cultures who share the love of motorcycling. I've met more friends in my life via motorcycles.
Right.
I've made more friends in my life via motorcycles, and my best friends are those who ride motorcycles because we share that passion.
Right.
We share that passion.
Yeah.
And it transcends everything. It transcends all cultures, all races. It really does. It opens up doors. And it starts conversations.
Yes.
It really, because you never know who you're going to meet. Because, you know, you meet somebody, you're on a bike. Well, my uncle has this old bike. I don't know what to do with it. Now you know where an old bike is, or he has this bike. Can you help me with this? It may not be a Harley, maybe a Honda, maybe a Kawasaki, but it's a motorcycle and it's conversation.
Yes, that's
like
why
you're always an icebreaker.
That's why we need you to get that nonprofit. That's why we need you to find that corner of some museum. Don't ask to sit at the table, sir.
Right.
Don't ask. Make your own table.
Make your own table.
Right. Make your own table.
And the thing is, what you have, probably the shows that we've had, the 10 shows, 9 shows, 10 shows that we've had, we probably have more people viewing this constantly right now on this episode, which is outstanding, which is exactly what we wanted to do with this podcast from the start. So, sir, you have been A1, top notch. The information has been on. People are suggesting that you write a book, and I wish somehow or another we could find you a corner. If somebody know a nonprofit out there in the Ohio area that can sit there and say, hey, look, we want to put his bikes on exhibit, even if it's just to sit there and put it on exhibit for 90 days, reach out to Mr. Smith, because he would love to share this knowledge and passion for it with the younger generation and for everybody.
Right.
If you got a bike event, up there, say, hey, look, sir, we're in the park, bring them out. We'll rope you off a section, bring them out. You know what I'm saying? And for some of you people out there, take pictures with these bikes, because it's going to be part of your legacy. It's going to be part of what you're going to leave behind. Now, he may not let you sit on them, but you can stand next to him.
You can't sit on nobody's bike.
And look, ain't nobody kickstarted.
hey, Solo, I want something interesting that Tina said, and I believe this needs to be said. She said, I never knew black bike riders existed until last. She says treat, so I don't know what that word's supposed to be, but she says until last treat, when I went to my first set as a prospect. Now, I know we're talking about African Americans and talking about black Harley Davidson riders, and just black bikers in general, and the legacy that we're going to leave to our children. It is also imperative that other cultures understand our legacy, just like we've learned their legacy, we've learned their history. It is vital, not only just to. We need to know your history. We need to know your legacy. We need to know William Johnson. We need to know Bessie Stringfield. We need to know about Sugar Bear. True, but other people outside of our culture also needs to know.
Yes.
So that everybody, so the culture, we said it before on other shows. When I was up in North Dakota, Montana, or in 2020, when all the tension was in our culture and our world, there was a bond between different cultures just because of the motorcycle. So everybody to understand the culture that what we bring is to me is vital. So I wanted to say that.
Right. Thank you.
It is.
Yes, sir. Well, what we're gonna do is, sir, we're gonna let you take it out. Is there anything you would like to discuss, share with the audience before we let you enjoy the rest of your evening?
No, I'd appreciate the camaraderie, Logic and KSolo of having me on your show to give a part of our history as blacks, as African Americans, on riding these Harley Davidson motorcycles. We've been riding them since they've been riding them, and don't let anyone ever tell you anything different. And if anybody ever has any questions or concerns or wants to talk to me offline, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, anywhere. Just reach out to me. I'll answer any questions you have about these old bikes. So if you're ever in Ohio, ever in Columbus, let me know. Definitely can take a look at them and see them up close and personal, because it's a lot different when you see them via video than when you see them in person and you're around them. They're even though the modern bikes are nice and the modern bikes get you where you want to go A to B, there's nothing like these old, 60-year-old motorcycles. The smells, the gas, the oil, the stuff that you would never get on a new modern motorcycle.
Right.
And they're black owned.
Yeah. And folks, if you have one in the garage, if you have one in the storage unit, before you get rid of it, before you get rid of it.
Any questions?
Any questions, reach out to Mr. Smith. Because he would definitely have the answers for you, or point you in the right direction, or kind of educate you and get you online with it, so that family heirloom can stay in the family, so that legacy, your father, mother legacy, could continue. Just like I think Bessie's bike in the Harley Museum, correct?
If I'm not mistaken. It is.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yes.
So that's
one of her last ones. Yep.
One of her last ones. Yeah.
I was there when Harley did the introduction of Bessie, with Kurz and her organization, the best. Right. I think that was before the Bessie Bells, but I was there to see that happening. Right. That was awesome.
Right.
And today we have so many African American women who are trailblazing themselves, going across country, riding, A to Z. Shaquila's going everywhere. Just so many African American women that are just doing it, right? And and they're trailblazers within their own right, and just going across country and riding those motorcycles like it's nobody's business.
That's right. I tip my hat to them, and all because it's outstanding. It's outstanding.
It is.
We thoroughly enjoyed it. Hey, if Mr. Bell said it was a good show, then by doggone it was a good show.
That's right.
Oh man, folks, we love it. We're having a good time. Hey, sir, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. I'm gonna put you in the green room.
Thank you, sir.
Just to let everybody know, merchandise is starting to come in. So, sir, we're gonna have you a swag bag in the mail. Be on the lookout for it. We greatly appreciate your time and your information.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, you have a good night.
All right,
you, my brother. Blessings on you.
All right.
Blessings, brother.
Sir, I'm drained.
I'm full.
I'm full.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this show to get more notes.
I know. I tell you, man. I tell you, this was a good one.
Yes.
We had our pre-production. We talked about it. We went over everything.
Yeah.
And we knew where we went, the direction that we want to go. And Mr. Smith, he just came with a whole new bag.
I told you I didn't have half these. I don't think I asked a quarter of these questions. I'm like, I ain't gonna ask that.
I know.
He just going. Okay.
But that's what I wanted. I told him, I said, man, get you a stick, get you something to drink on, and have that it. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes.
That's exactly what he did, folks. This is what you're gonna get on Riding with KSolo, the podcast with Logic.
Yes, sir.
This is the quality of material.
Yes, sir.
Content. I don't want to say content, but quality of material that we want to bring on our show.
Yes.
And we appreciate you. There's no day don't go by that we don't appreciate you when you tune in. Even when the episode goes off, other people still go to the page and they view them, and we see them.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that we're gonna need, though. There's gonna be one thing that we're gonna need, folks. We're trying to grow this platform.
Yes, we are.
We're trying to hit the 10,000 subscriber mark, and we definitely would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel.
Yep.
Hit the notification button.
Yep.
And comment. And after you do those three things, we want you to share it.
We want you to
share the link.
Share the 25 of your friends.
That's it. 25. Share 25. That's what we're going to call it. Share 25.
Share 25.
And help us reach our goal of hitting 10,000 followers before 2025. We want to go in 25 with 10,000 subscribers on the channel.
Yes.
That's going to give us a broader viewing area. It's going to push us up a little bit higher so people can see the kind of content that we're putting out and the featured guests that we bring on. Logic.
We got two questions. Do you want to ask the questions?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I put them already in the comment. It's like this is to our viewers. We're glad you're here. This content. The guest we brought on tonight was just awesome. So we wanted to ask the question: what did you learn today? Especially, what did you learn?
I want to know. That's right.
That you didn't know.
I want to know, did you learn something? Something new. Something new. Something that you may have heard of or forgotten, but did you learn something new? Kickstarting the bike, the era of the bike.
6 volt.
6 volt. 6 volt. Did you learn anything new tonight? Leave a comment. Put it in the comment.
Leave a comment.
Thing, even if you sit there and say, "Hey, I didn't know, about Mr. Johnson, or I didn't know about Betsy, or I didn't know about Sugar or the guys over there in California who were doing it, bike builders. I didn't know the difference between a technician and a mechanic, or I'm sorry, I can't say that. I'm gonna get in trouble. Oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Y'all want to see more of this? Because yes, let us know. We're gonna get some ideas from y'all too. We need ideas from our viewers to know. We because me and KSolo bouncing things off. Because y'all know he knows about 1 billion people. He probably gotta have somebody come off the moon riding a motorcycle. But anyway, let us know if y'all like this type of content, and we'll make sure that we slide it in because we have things lined up. We have calendar dates and all that stuff. So hey,
Kodak told me he older than both of us.
Who said that? Kodak.
Both hate it.
But that's all right. You can be older. I'm thank you that I'm a younger.
Oh man. Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. But hey, folks, is that another question, Logic? Or is that
no? Those are two.
Okay,
That's we wanted to make sure we asked our viewers tonight. Yes, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir.
Guess what? Guess who we're gonna have on our next show?
Are you a first, second, or third generation legacy rider?
That's right. We're going to have Marvin Thomas Sr. and Marvin Thomas Jr., father and son, out of Georgia. They are affiliated with the Viper Unit Motorcycle Club.
All right.
Folks, you're going to want to tune into this because what are you? Are you a first, second, third year generation legacy rider? Did your father ride? Did your mother ride? Where did you start riding? We're going to dive into it. And how is it riding with your son or your daughter side by side and being in the same club? So folks, tune in.
Like I said, it's LeBron James and Bron. I think that's
right.
I think that's the son
Brony.
name.
Is it Brony?
Brony? Something like that.
Brony. Hey, folks, we're trying to be your premier podcast channel.
Premier.
The only way we can do it is we hit that 10,000 subscribers going into 25.
Yes.
So please share, like, hit that button. Yeah. Even if you hit the button and don't turn the notification on, hit that button. And every now and then go back and take a look at a couple of the old shows and
turn the notification on.
And turn that notification on. And comment. We greatly appreciate it. Hey, it's not going to hurt you. No money out of your pocket. Only thing it's doing is helping us get this material out to a wider, broader audience. Yes. So look, tune in, and this is what's going on for our next episode.
Yes.
This is going to air on Monday. We're going live Monday, right, Logic?
Yes. We're going to be on the 4th instead of the 5th because the 5th is election day, and we know that everybody going to be watching. I'm going to use KSolo's word, the big board for the elections. So we decided to go ahead and move the show a day early. So y'all remember that. Mark this now. It's not going to be on the 5th next Tuesday. It's going to be on the 4th that Monday, same time, though.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So, hey, folks, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Riding with KSolo, the podcast with Logic. We appreciate you. If you're interested in coming on the show, inbox us. We're going to try to get you on. We got a few weeks out, but we still, who knows? We maybe fire up a Thursday or something. Who knows?
See this guy.
Hey, that's how being refried.
That guy
right there. Look. That guy right there. Hey, I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good night. We're out of here. Take care. All right, my brother.
All right, bro.